I'd now like to bring up a friend of mine. It's incredible that she's here with me. This is Joanna Eager, Director of HRC Welcoming Schools, and she's a powerhouse. Here she is.
Wow, I love this community. I have hung out in your schools today. I just got into town last night, and I've hung out in your schools. I arrived in your community at 7:30 this morning. I thought that I was going to go home and change clothes and do my hair and stuff because I'm staying in Madison. But I have been hanging out all day. I have been in your amazing chocolate shop. I would clap for that. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Schulen's, but I'm a fan. And like I said, I've met with educators, I've talked to parents, I've talked to community members, I've been hugged a lot. I just love this community. And even though I hail from Seattle and I work for the Human Rights Campaign in Washington, D.C., I am a Minnesotan, and I've only been in, Minnesota. So I was just actually home for Thanksgiving to see my mom, and I wish I'd just stayed there because a couple days later I ended up flying here so that I could be a part of a community that, for me, growing up in a small town in southern Minnesota, I have just felt more at home here than probably any place for a long time, except for when I am home, because I know what it's like to be, I don't know if you call yourselves a small town, but you feel like the town that I grew up in. And seeing all of this community support, seeing you come together like this, seeing you valuing, honoring all of our differences, because the reality is that we all walked in the door tonight, even here, with all of our differences. We all have differences with regard to our identities. We have differences. We all have a race. We all have a class. We all have a gender. We all have a sexual orientation. And they're different, and we express them all in so many different ways. And so what HRC's Welcoming Schools program does is we know that. And so our program targets, in particular, elementary schools. And we go into elementary schools across the nation and provide professional development, free resources, mentoring, whatever we could do to support elementary schools in particular, and how to be inclusive of all of those differences that walk into the school every single day, because we know the main event is learning. And we know that if a student doesn't feel safe in school, doesn't feel valued, isn't seen, that they are not learning that day. And so for a long time, a lot of the type of work that I do based upon celebrating our differences, honoring all of the different kinds of family structures that are in this community and in all of our schools, honoring the fact that some families have grandparents, some families are two moms, some families are adoptive families, some families are military families, some families are divorced families. There's so many different types of family diversity that if we don't talk about that in elementary school, when so much of the curriculum is focused on family, we're excluding so many of our students. So a main message of ours is to work with elementary schools to celebrate family diversity, to celebrate and support certainly transgender students, and to simply create and celebrate gender diversity in the classroom. I don't know about you, but when I went to school, gender role stereotypes were really rigid, and I felt like it limited me, and I don't want that for our youth today. And so it is beneficial not only for transgender students, but for all students to have an experience of being in a gender diverse classroom and knowing that all students can color with all colors. All students can wear all sorts of clothes. All students can have all sorts of haircuts. It doesn't have to break down along gender lines. Another thing I wanted to say about HRC's Welcoming Schools program is that when we first developed this program, we took a look at what was out there around anti-bullying programs across the nation, and we took a look at who is being inclusive in anti-bullying programs. of gender diversity and in being LGBTQ inclusive and talking about identities in elementary schools, and we didn't see much out there. We didn't see much out there at all. And so that's why we developed a program that specifically is working with elementary schools, because we know that when we start these conversations in elementary schools, the fact is that students are bringing in all of these ideas and are experiencing the world and all of the differences. And so it's really important that we as adults follow their lead and we respond to them, and we have developmentally appropriate ways to have conversations with them about all the differences that they notice, so that as they move up to middle school and high school, we've already started. We don't wait to middle school, we don't wait to high school to say, hey, let's be respectful of all of our differences and learn how in the world is it that we're going to get along with all of these differences. There's so many. So we start in elementary school, and that's the program that I represent. A couple other things I want to say about that then. So one of the things that's held people back from having conversations about all of our differences in elementary schools is just not honestly knowing. And some adults don't know. Some teachers don't know. I didn't know exactly how do you have discussions, for example, about what transgender means in a developmentally appropriate way with elementary school students. How do you respond when a student asks, why does that person have two moms? I thought that was wrong. You know, how do you respond to these questions? And so that is part of the work that we're doing at Welcoming Schools. And as Jessica modeled so beautifully, it's like, I love what you just did, because Jessica modeled for all of us, here's how you do it, right? Like, here's exactly how you do it. So we break it down. I do want to plug our website only because we value having free resources available to educators and to parents. And one of the things that we do because of that question about, like, what is a developmentally appropriate way to respond to all sorts of questions about all of our differences, if you go to the Welcoming Schools website, we have a bunch of documents that you can download that are like responding to difficult questions just related to gender, or responding to difficult questions just related to LGBTQ topics, or responding to difficult questions about the fact that we have marriage equality now, and that's very new, so how do we talk with our youth about that? We just have all sorts of documents or materials, resources for you about that. How do you, when your child notices a multiracial family for the first time and they're not in one and have a question, how do you respond to that? So that's what we're about. A couple other things that I wanted to say is that I am incredibly humbled to be here in this community. I feel like you understand already, and that it's a preaching to the choir moment out here. I don't know if everyone here is in the choir, but your faces are beautiful, and your faces are beautiful, and I said to Amy when I came here today, I said, today's about love. Today is definitely about love, and when we at Welcoming Schools talk about the work that we do, we say it's about love, it's about respect, it's about families. Like, it can become that basic. And when we say we're embracing all of the differences, if not everyone here is on board with this and is learning and is figuring out, you know, what they're going to do about this, that's okay too, because one of the things we also need to do to be a caring and compassionate community is to be respectful that everyone is in a developmentally different place. I'm sure even, you know, those of you who are here supporting are in different places in your knowledge, in your life experience, and that's a reality for all of us, and I think it's really important to respect that. So I just want to say thank you for a great day. Thank you for great chocolate. And I'm just really, I always feel like it can be condescending to say I'm proud of people because I don't have anything that you have, but I am proud of you. I do this work all over the nation, and this showing tonight and what it feels like in this room is really powerful. So I just really want to congratulate you and say thank you for embracing me in your community today. I'm going going to introduce another student to you from the Sexuality and Gender Alliance. And I don't know if you all saw, but in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Jazz Jennings wrote an op-ed. And so if you didn't have a chance to read that, she wrote an op-ed in response to what is occurring in your community. And so I'd like to introduce Claire to you, who is going to read that to you. It's just really a beautiful letter. Claire?
Thank you so much for letting me read this. I am so honored to be a part of this and so proud of my community. All right, letter. I was very happy to learn that Principal Rachel Johnson chose to read my book, I Am Jazz, to her students at the Mount Horeb Primary Center. Jessica Herthel and I wrote it for children. It's based on my own experiences as a transgender girl, a story I first started telling when I was 6 years old. Back then, I'm 15 now. I was lucky that my parents and my extended family supported me for who I knew I was. But at that time, I didn't know of other transgender children. I didn't have any role models or books to read that would let me know I was okay and there were other kids just like me. People at my school had never known any transgender children, and they weren't sure how to make me feel safe and accepted. We decided to write I Am Jazz so that children everywhere, like the students at Mount Horeb, could learn about and understand what it means to be transgender and to be compassionate and kind to their transgender classmates. I also hope that the book would help transgender children feel more included and not alone. I know it would have made a big difference when I was little to know that there were other kids like me. My parents and I want to personally thank Johnson for being such a strong leader and ally for the transgender girl at her school. The student at Mount Horeb is so lucky that she has supportive parents and a principal, teachers, and many, many parents and students who want to support her and make her feel welcome at school. That is so cool. I know it will make a huge difference that soon she may be her true self at school without the risk of being treated badly or pushed away by her school community. So I was sad to find out that a small group of parents forced Johnson to cancel the reading from I Am Jazz. Thank you to the other people who stood up and decided to have readings in other places, and thank you to the many people who are showing their support for kids like me. My book can help, I think, but I know from my own experience that as adults like my parents and Johnson, who can make sure that transgender children are treated fairly at school, given the same opportunities to succeed in life. Growing up transgender can be a challenging experience, and we need our parents, schools, and friends to stand by us so we can breathe easily. We want the same thing, to be who we are and feel safe and supported in this world. I have been sharing my story for almost a decade because I don't want anyone else to feel alone or scared. I hope that I Am Jazz continues to open people's hearts by helping them to understand what it is like to be transgender. I am proud to see so many people support transgender students in Wisconsin, and I hope that it will help the Mount Horeb student love and enjoy life as her authentic self.
On behalf of Saga and the entire community of Mount Horeb, we would like to present this gift basket to you. Yes, you.
Thank you guys so much. That's great.
Go Vikings.
So I knew that our Mount Horeb community was a loving, compassionate, inclusive one for all kids. I knew that in my heart. But you all have just shown that to be so overwhelmingly true. So thank you. Thank all of you for coming out.